name is Jennifer Bullock, and I would like to present the woman's right to pro-choice. In other words, why abortion should be legal. So, first things first, pro-choice and pro-life are two different things. Pro-choice doesn't mean pro-death or anti-pregnancy. It just means to brace the woman in her right to her own body. Two, women have the right to decide on whether she can provide for that child or whether she wants to as well. It's a choice. One of the most substantial controversies in the world. Many individuals conclude that abortion is immoral and then conclude that it is even murder. However, if that same person who thinks it is murder were put into that any situation that would cause them to need an abortion, would their thoughts be any different? Probably. A woman's body is her own. So if abortion is wrong, then sentencing a person to the death penalty must be just as immoral. Now, a quote the singer wrote, "No woman can call herself free who does not control her own body." So, abortions were illegal for many years, which caused for many women to get an abortion in the back alley, which caused the death of the woman herself in many ways. However, the abortion law is in place and has many thanks to the case of Roe versus Wade in 1973. In Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court held that a pregnant woman has a constitutional right under the 14th Amendment to choose to terminate her pregnancy before viability as part of her freedom of personal choice in family matters. So, in other words, Roe, a woman who came to be known as the one who legalized abortion, in the matter that the government nor any person can stop a woman from personal decisions about her body, such as procreation. And now on the left, if you take a look, there is a clip that is from it's audio from the original clip of the case that won. And if you get a chance to listen to it, I highly recommend it. Now, there are many reasons why someone would get an abortion. Yes, some might be selfish, but there's also legitimate reasons why someone might need to get abortion. For one thing, if someone doesn't want a child, she might not be ready. What about the circumstances where the condom breaks or the birth control doesn't, it fails? It just completely fails. Why should someone have to go through the pregnancy that doesn't want a child? They were on birth control for a reason. The next is there's rape and incest. Now, when it comes to incest, there's a lot of things that falls into place for that. I mean, children cannot consent to sexual intercourse. However, it is still one of the most significant crimes around. When sexual contact happens and it is not reported, unwanted pregnancy happens. And unwanted pregnancy is not the greatest. However, to imagine an unwanted pregnancy that was created out of incest is even worse. Can you just imagine? The article aims at itself on sexual child abuse among family members and what kind of issues could arise, especially pregnancy. Can you imagine being raped or molested by a family member and then you find out you're pregnant and you have to carry that child because the law says you can't? That's wrong. And I did find another article that held excellent points on why abortion should be allowed in the non medical viewpoint. There is up to 5% of women who experience rape become pregnant as a result. It was revealed that by allowing a woman who was raped to have an abortion, it allowed for many women to be able to overcome the violent act. Think about it. If you were to be raped and had to have that child, that person has to look at that child as the result from the violent crime that happened to her. How is that fair to the mother and the child? The mother would never be able to be a mother to that child. That child is never going to have the life that he or she deserve. So why expose that to that child or the person? Next, there's fetal abnormalities. Things happen, and unfortunately, there's times that the child might not even make it to term. There's instances where the mother might have health problems. What if you were told you couldn't live? If you have this child, you're not going to make it. What kind of life is that for you or the child? There are so many different reasons, but to look at it as why would someone get abortion needs to be deeply looked into. Is about more on women's rights pretty much. I mean, if you look at the chart on your right, statistics don't lie. I mean, abortion in the United States it does seem higher than others, but if you look at the chart, okay, the pink is 8 weeks or less. 59.3% is under 8 weeks. Under 8 weeks. I mean, there's only 1.4% that is over 20 weeks. Anything under 20 weeks, in my opinion, is more than okay. However, it was in 1965 that 70% of women were dying in the back alley because of abortions. Because it was illegal, the doctors had to do it on a side job pretty much, and they did not have the correct equipment. However, because of the Roe versus Wade case, many women have been able to undertake employment that was not even thought of preceding the Roe case. So, yes, the Roe versus Wade case had to do with making our women's rights to be able to get abortion, to have a right to say what we want done with our body. But if it wasn't for that case, what rights would we have had? I mean, the thought of what if we never got to that point. The Roe versus Wade case was able to help women in many aspects of life, for careers, our stance, and it can go on. And I also would like to add that Planned Parenthood is one of the many facilities that gives reliable abortions to those women who choose to have one. And if it wasn't for them, there would be a lot of unwanted pregnancies that the women have to go through. And unfortunately, what would happen? What would the consequence be? We don't know because we have abortion in place for us women that choose to do so. I have two pictures up here on the slide that I would like for you to look at. On the left, there's the different stages of the fetus and the growing. So you got the first one, which is at 8 weeks, then 12 weeks, then 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, and then 40. And on the right is a picture of a fetus. Now, does that fetus look like it can survive outside of a woman's body, outside of the womb? Not sure. So really, what is a human? A person who starts after a fetus becomes viable or workable, which just means a fetus can survive outside the womb. Now, Peter S. Wentz argued that the belief that an unborn child, particularly fetus, is human before its 20 weeks is a religious belief, and that is all. This particular article explains the views on abortion in the Christian eyes. Castro 2017 wrote, "It seems almost certain that there was never a time before the late 20th century when abortion was viewed within the Catholic Church as an issue of moral absolutes. This article discusses different history viewpoints, but mainly where abortion lies in the eyes of the religious views. However, it does not make the opinions right in the moral sense. Furthermore, due to science, it has helped the world to see that the unborn child before 20 weeks is not of human. It would not survive outside of the mother. So that's something to really think about. Now, next thing to think about is most neuroscientists believe that the cortex is necessary for pain perception. The cortex is not functional until at least the 26 weeks of the fetus development, long after most abortions are conducted. Now, it should also be noted that abortion is not murder, because murder is explained as killing a human, and when abortion is conducted, it's conducted on a fetus, not a human. Yes, a fetus is a potential human, however, it is not human yet. So that is something to highly consider as well. It seems it would never end. But looking at the Griswold and Connecticut case in 1965 that forbid the use of birth control, it violated people's conscientious right and privacy on the matter. The matter that sex is not just about procreation anymore, but about sexual freedom. To take away birth control is stating that individuals must have either abortion or no sex at all. Okay, so you can't have sex, because if you do, you might get pregnant, because birth control isn't allowed. But you can't have abortion either. So, does that seem fair? I don't think so. Individuals have sex drives and have the right to act on his or her sexual desires, which is why using the sexual desires approach is so imperative. What it boils down to is you have a right to do what you want with your body. In the case of the Griswold versus Connecticut, is one of the reasons why the clause of the 14th Amendment and the abortion right is in place today. And that was back in 1965 when abortion wasn't as common as it is today. Planned Parenthood, which is the most common place nowadays, isn't just about abortion. Yes, the organization has helped so many women, but if you look at the graph on the left-hand side, okay, abortion is only at 3%. Cancer is at 16%. There's birth control 35%, STDs at 35%, and there's other for 1% and 10%. So the abortion's actually at the smallest scale. There was a case with Planned Parenthood, yet with another, and all that case did was confirm the case of Roe versus Wade, the case in which proved that the woman had her rights in the decision, and having to go through the judicial system to have a right to terminate unwanted pregnancy seems completely absurd. I mean, how would you like it if you were told you can't have that to eat? Because you know what? I don't think it's fair. It's not right. That hamburger you're eating was a cow, and you killed it so you could eat it. I would like to bring up is woman in the uniform. Yes, mainly military uniform. Think about it. A man goes to war. He's fighting. He has no issues. If he gets a girl pregnant, he can still go. He can still get his job done. But a woman, she can't. If she gets pregnant, she can't do her job in the military in active war. I mean, women don't have the advantages like men. It has been proven that women have a higher rate than many of the unwanted pregnancies. There was a case that proved the needs of service women need to be better and support their rights to be in the active military. Women have to take off time off work when they have the baby. They have to do this, they have to do that. But men, they don't have to worry about that. So how is it fair that a man can say what a woman can do with her body? It's not right. What ifs? Many people say by aborting you're taking away the child's right to live. Okay, I can see that. But that's almost saying that you need to have sex because there's a potential child that could be born. So to me, it's the same thing as saying if you don't have sex, the child doesn't have a chance. Now you gotta understand though, if abortion was illegal, there could be more possible deaths because whether abortion is legal or not, women are still going to do it. And going to the back alley is not the safe way. And there's so many abortions that more than likely stop from many children from being mistreated. If a woman was to have a baby that she doesn't want, she could mentally and physically abuse that child, and that is not right. And the child, to feel that way, is going to have many psychological issues. And it's not fair for that child to have to live that kind of life. So, in the long run, abortion can actually save that child from all kinds of abuse. There's always going to be debates. Abortion is one of the biggest debates, it seems. Now, someone can come back and say, okay, well, abortions cause so many problems besides that. Well, what kind of problems? Okay, mental problems. All right. So, I did find a study that was published who went over abortion and their anxiety and depression scale was higher just because of the abortion, right? Another article that a 2008 peer-reviewed study published found that young adult women who have abortions could be at an increased risk for succeeding depression. Okay, I could definitely see that. However, is that really the cause? Because there's many causes for depression and mental health. So to rethink that is important. To argue with the problems that abortion could cause, I would like to back up what I have to say. And I found peer review articles that did studies. And one of them was in January 2015, less than 1/4 of the abortions conducted led to any major health complications. So that cancels out everything, in my opinion. And another article, a 2012 study, found a woman's risk of dying from having an abortion is 0.6 in 100,000, while the risk of dying from giving birth is around 14 times higher. So, in other words, the study also found that pregnancy-related complications were more common with childbirth than with abortion. So, having an abortion is actually safer than giving birth. Does that makes a lot more sense? A lot more sense because boils down to a woman is told, okay, you're gonna die if you have this baby. So she has abortion because to save her life. It's a health condition. There's something wrong with her. But if she had given birth, she would more than likely had died. So that's something to think about. And the conclusion is abortion is a right to a woman's body. No one has a right to say what anybody can do with their body at all. And for you to tell someone that they have to have a child, it's wrong. If you want a child, you have a child. If you don't want an abortion and you don't agree with it, then don't do it. It's simple as that. You can argue all you want to, but what it boils down to, how would you like to be told that you can't do something, but you know you have a right to do it? because it is your body. Thank you.